You know, I wish I was lucky enough to be born confident sometimes. In life, you encounter people where it just seems so natural to them, like they deserved it from, I don't know, their natural abilities, their natural talents. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort. It's like they deserve that sort of brave attitude towards some sort of merit they've achieved through their own efforts. Thinking back on my own life, I feel that most of my accomplishments were just because I was lucky enough to be given them in the first place. It's like I've never really achieved anything through my own effort or abilities. Yes, a truly humbling attitude from yours truly, but one that I might be better off without. Although when I asked myself if I wanted to switch lives with someone else, I would say no, because it would mean I would disappear in a way. And I'm scared of not being myself. I think that most of my life except my childhood was plagued by self-confidence issues. And really it's a combination of many factors. A bit of lack of identity, a bit of always being the smallest person in the room, a bit of lack of passion, and poof, you have this guy who gets stuck in this vicious cycle of never having enough confidence to pursue what he wants, and so never puts in any effort because he wants to protect himself from being disappointed by his own performance. Well, he ends up disappointing himself even more by his own lack of effort in the end. It's never a story that ends well. Eventually, it comes to a point where the mental burden, it becomes too much to bear. I had to do something. And yeah, it's not the best source of motivation, but I think it was necessary in a way to at least start doing something with my life. It gave me the courage to take the first step towards becoming myself and finding peace. And there you go, there goes the last 3 years of my life. I've tried many different things to find the meaning of it all. To find something that I can confidently believe in and accept. It's never that easy though. I've read and studied many different philosophies, scoured the sciences involved with the inner workings of the brain and our thought processes, identified historical, economical, and sociological causes to understand the present society we live in. And I went through a much needed self-improvement phase that I'm glad is sort of over now, because it kind of made me an asshole. While I might for a moment seem like a genius here, the information I've gotten from all these sources was never really profound. I might have studied these things and listened to all these people explaining to me what the meaning of life was, but I've never really got out there and tried to experience the true meaning of life myself. It's much different to study the meaning of life instead of experiencing it yourself. That takes a lot of time and effort and experience. Still, I've made some progress towards my own self-acceptance. Even if I feel my steps were clumsy and misguided, the path feels shorter now. My belief has slightly changed. I don't believe that finding self-confidence is about finding the meaning of your life. Rather, finding confidence is about finding meaning in the life you're living right now. What can I do to infuse everything I do in my life with more significance and passion? Or maybe more like, how can I be at peace with the life I'm living right now? My generation is filled with distraction, loneliness, and anxiety. The world feels like it's falling apart. But maybe in this solitude we can find time to breathe, reflect, and take in the world as it is for a moment. It might just be the push we need to change our own perspective and influence a bit of the world's perspective while we're at that as well. Yes, that sounds a bit too hopeful, but as easy as it can be in this world, I try not to be too cynical and apathetic in my ways of thought. To me, finding peace is the thing I value most now. As long as I have it, I'll be fine with much of anything that happens to me. But it's not like I'm complacent. It's more that through the process of trying and failing again, and trying and failing once more, I find enjoyment through the process of attempting to experience meaning in my life. Yes, it's grueling and stressful sometimes, especially from my point of view where it feels like I failed at most things I tried. But if you see it from another perspective, everything in life ends in failure eventually. Some people, it ends with their own deaths. For other people, they've flown too close to the sun. And for some, well, they just weren't lucky enough to make it in the first place. With that said, what's the point if everything ends in failure? Well, the meaning of my life might just be the experience of its process. experiencing your own story through your own eyes. Well, I guess it's just to be seen for now. The relationships I've had, past and present, felt like they were the closest thing I've ever had to experiencing the meaning of life. And they too are a constant process which will eventually end in failure. It's part of what makes them so precious in the first place. At least, that's what I like to say to myself. That might have been the reason I've also been much more grateful for everything I have in my life right now. Everything becomes much more precious when you realize that it too will eventually end in failure, and you become much more grateful to ever have it in the first place. This way of thinking helped me add a lot of significance to my everyday life too. Everything I do, really. But don't get me wrong, it's not like I've got it all figured out here. I've just barely started exploring my own path in life and figuring out what I want to do here on this planet. These days full of meaning and happiness and significance don't happen that often to me. Ironically, life gets in the way, and I forget these new ways of thinking and go back to old annoying habits that I really want to get rid of, but I can't. But I try to. That it's also part of the process, right? The path in front of me is still very, very long. But as long as I can find peace throughout all of this, it ain't that bad. I think I'll be just fine. I think I'll be maybe even happy. It's all part of the process now, right? And fortunately, now I can objectively view myself and sit back and relax for most of it. Really, that's all I have to say for today. So, thanks for watching, and see you soon.